Hi, welcome to Life Skills with Louie. I'm Louie. Welcome to the Learning to Love section. Today we are talking about an introduction to learning to love. If you haven't watched the introduction to the entire video series, please do so. That'll help you understand all 5 sections and how to use them. So to dive right in, this section, Learning to Love, was an important one to create and was initially based off of the scaffolding of dialectical behavioral therapy, DBT, which has a section called interpersonal effectiveness, which is a great name, but a little clinical. And learning to love rolls off the tongue and also is a good description, especially the learning, because this is an ongoing process. There's something very mysterious about love, and I think even fully defining it may not make sense. It's such a deep experience. It's such a broad experience. There are many different types of love. And at the same time, I think there is some practical guidance that can be given to help people love more freely and more functionally. And so that's what this is all about. This doesn't have the same sort of a map as the other sections, or as the getting to great and the connecting to clear sections. It does have a set of skills that are helpful and eminently practical, especially in the beginning has some overarching principles, and then the middle part is very practical skills for relationships, and then towards the end comes back again to principles, but more depth and truths about our reality that I think have a lot to do with love. So just to briefly talk about what we're going to speak about in learning to love, first we're going to talk about this process that I learned through internal family systems called the U-turn that, as is generally the case, I'll sort of make some expansions to it, but it's a very helpful process when you're trying to understand love and how it connects to the skills you need to use beforehand, from getting to great, connected to clear, connected to calm, the being beyond. Then I'm going to talk about this paradigm that I call the sum of us paradigm, which is in honor of Heather McGhee's book, The Sum of Us, which was a fantastic book that I loved and speaks to a deep truth and helps to orient us to what's important when we're starting to think about love. And then we go into a very practical section, which is quite expansive, but can be boiled down with an acronym that came from DBT with just a few little changes. So the acronym is be a fast giver. Fast is having to do with self-respect skills. Giver is having to do with relationship and attachment skills. And a dear human is a slightly expanded version of the dialectical behavioral therapy's dear man skill, which has to do with assertiveness. These are super helpful skills, and I have found them personally really clarifying, and I'm very happy to share them in the hopes that they can be helpful for you and your relationships, for understanding how to make them work better. Then we go into some practices that are more energetic, meditative, loving kindness, my spin on that, giving and receiving subtle energy. If you're someone who's interested in subtle energy, you may find that interesting. If you're not, just move on. And finding people and bonding with them, which is an expansion of a skill from dialectical behavioral therapy, DBT, about what they call in that handout, finding people and getting them to like you, but it wasn't so fond of that title. So how do you branch out and expand your connections and deepen your connections? And then 2 processes that I think are critical for love and relationships, which is repair. First off, how do we mend the inevitable wounds that we touch or that we cause, which we need to do as a society and as humans? And then forgiveness, which could be many things. I will define it very clearly and talk about what is forgiveness possibly, or what do I experience forgiveness as. And that's something I'm very much still exploring, but necessary when we're really talking about love to touch upon it. And then finally, we come to two truths that we start to explore, because I want people's minds to have the possibility of experiencing these and working with these. Impermanence, which has so much to do with breaking the heart open to love, and unified consciousness, which is a broad experience and paradigm and really elemental when we're talking about love. So I think you'll find this section really helpful. Thank you for watching this. And as you explore these, they will lead you in new directions. This is a jumping off point, as are all of the skills in this whole series, to do more exploration into whatever habits and patterns help you to create and envision what you most want and need in life. Thank you.